Dylan.
And I'm Kian.
This is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we exit through the tear duct. Because this week we watched The Invisible Enemy.
Written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin.
Directed by Derek Goodwin.
And aired in October of 1977.
Yeah, I was just saying that intro and I thought of that documentary Exit Through the Gift Shop. You know, about Banksy and...
Yeah.
Exit Through the Tear Duct. That should be the making of Trust Your Doctor documentary.
Yeah. Probably be about 1 minute long.
It would just be a film of us sitting in this room and be like, this is where we record. So, and that's everything.
So episode 0.
Basically. Yeah, so this week's serial was pretty good in my opinion, and I guess we'll go into that when we've explained the plot.
Right, and it might be because we didn't really enjoy last week's serial very much, or at least Leela's characterization in last week's serial. It was much better in this serial, by the way.
Yeah, this week's was more of a return to the Talons of Wang Chiang / Robots of Death / whatever characterization.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just jump right in. So it begins with these guys on a spaceship. It looks like the spaceship that the second Doctor, Jamie and Zoe, used in that one serial with T-Mat, where the T-Mat wasn't working, so they had to go to the moon.
I thought it looked like the one in Revenge of the Cybermen.
Possibly. I mean, the main point here is that they're reusing the set.
Well, no surprise there. I mean, it's not like we didn't know that they reused sets. Like, what? They reused sets on this show?
Ruins the illusion. No, but so they're on the ship, and they're flying towards Titan.
Right, that's a moon of Saturn, right? Or is it Jupiter? It's one of the two.
One of those.
Pretty sure it's Saturn.
It's a moon.
And, well, I just wanted to mention that their spacesuits look pretty bad, but I liked them.
Do they have that certain charm about them?
Right, they have that first Doctor era looks terrible charm.
Well, the first Doctor era, they got away with it because it was black and white. Now we're in the color era. So they're flying through space. They're kind of shaking around. They're shaking around to emulate turbulence, I guess. Don't know why there's turbulence in space.
Hey, it's better than what they usually do, and what they did again in this serial, where they just, ring around the rosy to simulate turbulence.
Terry Sullivan. So, the commander of the ship gets shocked by
something.
The controls, I guess, and he says, "Contact has been made." And then he shocks all the rest of his crew. They're all like, contact has been made.
Pretty shady.
I just kept thinking of, have you ever played that game Contact?
No.
Oh, it's a game where you basically have two people. Well, you can play with any amount of people, and one person has a word that they need the other people to guess, and the other people like give hints to other people in the circle, and if they know what the other person's thinking, they say contact and say the word. Anyway, I was just thinking of that the whole time.
Huh.
It's kind of a fun game.
Never heard of that before.
It's pretty fun. Gets kind of boring after a while, though, because you start running out of good words, and you're like, ah! Also, I gave a very bare-bones explanation of the game, but go look it up if you want to know how to play it. I'm sure it's on Wikipedia or whatever.
So, yeah, they arrive at Titan, and I guess there's some sort of relief crew or something for the...
Yeah, I think they are.
The people there. But that doesn't really matter because they show up in the room or the break area or whatever where the crew they're supposed to be relieving is, and they kill all of them. All 3 of them.
Yeah. And then I think the commander of the ship is like, oh yeah, there's Supervisor Lowe here somewhere, and Lowe has seen them get killed, and he's running through the base trying to hide.
Right. He sent out a distress signal, which intercepts the TARDIS.
Yeah, I think the Doctor says something like it was a year ago that the distress signal was sent out or whatever. It doesn't matter because he has a time machine, so...
Right, well, Leela, it was actually pretty interesting. Leela was sitting in front of a blackboard. I was going to say easel for some reason, but I guess she was learning how to write her name, and she's a lefty.
Yeah. I think Louise Jameson is actually a righty. She made Leela a lefty to for something. She did it for a reason.
I read it was I read it was to make the action look more awkward.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yep.
Be easier to do it that way.
And I mean, did you notice? She had her name written a couple times. Did you notice the first one was Lula, like Lula?
Well, she doesn't know how to spell or write.
I guess
the doctor's telling her.
Wouldn't he tell her not to write it like that?
Well, presumably she wrote that one first, and the doctor was like, no, you spelled it wrong, and then he would tell her, and then she would fix it.
I guess. I mean, you would assume that you'd just be told how to write your own name and not guess it, but...
I guess now's a good time to talk about the new/old console room.
Right.
It's the old console from the pre-Victorian parlor room. But the room itself is slightly different because it's got this big, giant view screen instead of the tiny one that we had before.
Right.
I guess reminiscent of the Victorian one, which also had that giant screen on the wall.
Yeah.
But on the opposite wall this time. I
guess you could say it's kind of a combination of, the two we've seen so far.
Yeah, and it's got the round thing still. Which the Victorian one didn't. The doctor mentions that this one is also the secondary room closed down for maintenance, but he's bringing it back for some reason. He doesn't say why. And we just never see the other one again.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the new console room.
Farewell, old console room. We'll miss you. Not really.
Console, temporary console room.
Temporary console room, whatever.
So they're flying through space, and all of a sudden the doctor gets shocked by the TARDIS, and is like, contact has been made. Leela's like, I feel an evil presence here. The doctor's like, nonsense!
Well, the doctor sort of passes out and then comes to, and you're sort of left wondering, obviously there's something controlling people's minds here, and you're sort of left wondering here whether or not the doctor's actually being controlled, and he's just, feigning...
He is.
Non-control. And I don't know, I thought that would become sort of a prevalent part of this serial, like, oh, is the doctor actually the doctor, or is he not? But no, it didn't actually.
No, because immediately as soon as they step out of the TARDIS, the doctor goes rogue.
He meets with the three guys who...
Four, I think. What's the three spacemen?
Well,
five. There's five now. No, four. So there's a three spacemen and then low, so four.
Yeah, right. They got low.
Yeah, they got low.
I forgot to mention.
Well, Leela meets up with Lo.
Yeah, they get Lo
and Lo's
afterwards.
Like, they've been taken over. I don't know what to do. And Leela's like, okay, stay here. I'll go get help from the doctor. And then Lo gets zapped by the thing. And then Leela comes back. And Lo is hiding. I remember Lo saying something like, she'll never suspect me. I'm like, well, the gray fur on your eyes is a pretty big giveaway.
That's why he puts on that visor.
Yeah, and then he put on that visor. And I was like, oh, okay.
But before that, the doctor makes contact with the three guys, and they reveal that he's been infected by something called the nucleus. We don't know exactly what that is yet, but he's been infected by it, and they have to protect it, and they need to kill Leela because she's in the way, and she can't be infected.
Yeah, for a reason that's not explained until the end.
Right. I actually liked in this serial how they didn't just info dump everything, and they kind of just let everything explain itself naturally, kind of like...
Robots of Death.
And the one before that I'm blanking on the name of.
The Face of Evil.
Yes, Face of Evil.
Yeah, I mean, we like every serial where they don't just info dump it, so it's just getting redundant to say it now.
Well, I mean, it's
a better way of writing serials.
Yeah, and we should probably mention that they do it, whether we like it or not. I mean, it's part of the story.
True enough, I suppose.
Anyway, episode 1 ends with...
the doctor about to kill Leela.
Right, he's got the white fur on his hand.
And face.
And his face.
Sort of.
Not as much as the other guys.
Yeah, but he's about to kill Leela, and then episode 2 begins with him going, Leela, duck! Something like that, and she dodges... She bobs and weaves.
Bullets.
Oh my gosh, she's Neo! It
all makes sense now.
Leela's the one. The doctor is Morpheus.
Well, I don't know. I really liked the sort of abandoned base. Yeah, base under siege. No. I like the abandoned base feel they had going on with Titan here. and I thought the entire serial would take place on this base, and I was looking forward to that, but no. They leave the base almost immediately right into episode 2 when the Doctor and, what's his name? Lo are taken to a medical bay somewhere nearby, I guess.
Yeah, like a nearby space station. I don't know what they would do if they just hung out on the base, though, for the whole time. It could just be Leela avoiding the group. Like, they wouldn't... That would get pretty boring after an episode, because everybody on the base is taken over except for Leela.
I don't know what would happen, but they could have thrown in some interesting twists or whatever. But they don't do that. They just leave.
Well, if they did that, we wouldn't have gotten the best companion of all, K9.
Right.
So they arrive at the base, and the Doctor is taken to see... what's
Dr.
his name?
Marius.
Marius, yeah. Keep thinking of Marinus, the Keys of Marinus. Marius, and... Because he's the best scientist on the base, scientist/doctor, I guess, on the base. And he's like, oh, it's just a self-induced coma, nothing we can do here.
Or so they think.
And we meet his robotic companion, K9, which is just a dog that was constructed for him before he left Earth, he says.
Right.
Or he built before he left Earth,
right, because
I think he said.
Apparently they're not allowed to bring dogs, or they can't bring dogs for some scientific reason, because they can't, I don't know, the gravity is different or something. But, I don't know, K9's first appearance on screen, he's in the bottom right corner of the frame, just kind of sitting there, and I didn't even notice him until Marius said, oh yeah, this is my robotic dog, K9, and points to him, and I was like, whoa, K9 has been in the shot for the past 20 seconds.
Because you weren't looking for him. I mean, I wasn't either. I didn't see him until Marius went, oh yeah, this is K9, and K9's like, affirmative.
Master. The way K9 says master and how he mentions he has more intelligence than humans, if I didn't know better, I would have assumed he was going to turn out to be some sort of Hal-like villain. But no.
Well, he does, briefly.
Okay. Very briefly, and for the same reason other characters in this serial do, for some surprising reason. You know, you think he's just faking it, but no, he's actually been controlled later on.
Right, so Lo... We should actually mention who plays K9.
He also plays the nucleus.
John Leeson.
Right.
Almost like John Levine plays Benton. But anyway, so John Leeson plays K9, and plays K9 for the rest of his tenure on the show, and every reappearance he's ever been in. And that recently announced K9 versus Omega movie.
Was that not just a joke?
I don't think so. Well, because I think it's going to be written by Bob Baker, who co-owns the rights to both Omega and K9, because him and David Martin wrote this serial and the Three Doctors. So they can totally legally do that.
Yeah. Well...
So anyway...
Right. Lo has also been taken in, and the doctors at the base but they just say that he suffered some eye injury, which is the excuse he made as to why he's wearing the visor.
Yeah.
And they ask him to take it off, and he's like, very well then, or something, and he takes it off and eye zaps the person attending to him, and now they're controlled too.
Yeah, contact has been made. Contact has been made.
No, they're not the Daleks.
Well, the Doctor does say recently that he doesn't like being exterminated. But anyway. So they kind of, Lo and the scientists start building an army of controlled people on the base. They brought the three scientists over. We've got to mention that Leela killed one of them.
Right.
And another one just died. I don't remember how. Gets killed. So they were actually down to 2 before coming to the base. Now they're back up to 3 because they got the scientist. So if you're keeping track, it's 3 versus 4, I guess, if you count Marius and K9.
Well, are we counting everyone in the medical base who's not with them as against them? No,
because they're just a neutral third party.
I mean, I don't think they'd be neutral if they knew what was happening.
But they don't, so they're neutral.
All right, well, they somehow figure out that it's not actually a coma, or well, that it's a self-induced coma, and that the doctor is doing it.
Yeah, because the doctor pops his head up and is like, help, it's a virus. Can't control it for long. And Mary's just like, oh, that would make a lot of sense. And the doctor's like, Leela's immune, find out why. And then he passes out again.
They find out he's not human, too, by taking an x-ray and finding out he has 2 hearts.
Yeah, and Mary's is just down with this. It actually gets him back on because he's like, oh, it's just a coma. And then his assistant is like, he's not human.
Parsons.
Marius is like, geez, I can't talk. Marius is like, oh, well, that's interesting. I guess I'll come back now. Anyway, he puts K9 on defense mode while... Well, the doctor pops his head up again after they've investigated Leela, and they can't figure out why she's immune.
But I think it's the doctor who realizes that the virus only affects you when when you exhibit brain activity.
Yeah, he says that's why if he just doesn't do anything, the virus doesn't control him. He also says something like the virus didn't affect Leela because he was more intellectual than Leela or something, but then later on they explain the immunity is just some extra protein that Leela has or something that's just an antibody.
I guess. Well, the nucleus is sentient, so I guess it did that on purpose, or it controlled the doctor on purpose. It says that too, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, anyway, the doctor pops his head up again when they can't find out why Leela's immune. He's like, quick, shrink us down. Make us a clone. Well, he actually asks... Well, okay, I oversimplified that a bit. He asks K9 how far cloning technology has advanced in that year. And K9's like, we can make clones for 10 minutes. The doctor's like, that'll be more than enough time. So he has Marius clone them. Especially
with the warped sense of time that occurs over the next few episodes.
The next really episode is in real time.
I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, so did I,
but no, not at all.
So Marius doesn't see why, but he clones them. I just made a note, like, how does the clone their clothes? Because apparently the process can work on a single cell of an organism. They can make a clone that includes all of the memories and experiences of the original, I might add.
Yeah. So that was a bit jarring, but I kind of just accepted it.
Don't justify, just accept. I think that's one of our new running gags. Good thing we introduced that. It's a perfect description for this show. So they clone the Doctor and Leela, and the Doctor goes into the TARDIS and picks up this machine. Brings it back. They hook it up to... I guess it's a quarantine chamber of some sort that they have on the base.
I honestly had no idea.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, why was it there?
Well, meanwhile, we forgot to mention, or we haven't mentioned yet, that the Contact Army, I guess is what I'm calling them, the Swarm. We don't actually find out that they're called the Swarm until, like, I guess now, but the Swarm has made their move. They've been infecting more people and kind of going at it with Leela, who's been picking some of them off, I believe, and K9, who's also killed a few of them.
Yeah, Leela doesn't pick anyone off yet, but K9 does.
Right, following, the trend that I guess Leela started of killing people in your first appearance.
I mean, let's be honest here. K9 is practically indestructible given what happens in this serial. But it appears his only weakness is that he happens to run out of power every so often.
Right, the Swarm actually tries to control K9, and they do. You think?
Yeah, in episode 3.
You think that K9 is... No, that's in episode 3. We'll explain it then.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're right at the end of episode 2. Marius realizes that they're going to inject the clones, into the Doctor to fight the nucleus. So he's like, okay, guess we'll do that. You have 10 minutes. And then he tells Leela and K9 to hold off the Swarm for 10 minutes while the clones figure out what's going on in the Doctor's head.
Right, because Lo has told them to surrender or whatever, and that they've pretty much taken over, or that they've pretty much taken over.
Yeah. So into episode 3, K9 guns down another guy. And then they zap K9. He's like, contact has been made. And tries to kill Leela, but Leela ducks and weaves. See, she really is Neo.
Right.
She dodges the point-blank blast from K9.
You know, I legitimately thought that K9 just sort of missed on purpose or something, or was just pretending, but no.
No, now he reboots and then the nucleus gets booted out, I guess.
I don't know. He somehow resists control. Not resists, but he brings himself back in control. And the swarm here makes one of the fatal mistakes that villains in the show often make, and that's to not check if the person actually is dead. Because Leela's not.
I just kind of assumed that K9 succeeded.
He was pretty effective in everything else he did.
Yeah, like I said, he's incredibly powerful. He's the most powerful being on the show besides the Doctor. Except for the fact that he runs out of power, because besides that, he can just kill anything, and he's practically indestructible.
Right, and he doesn't really go on power trip mode like the Fourth Doctor kind of does sometimes, but whatever.
To a lesser extent than the Third Doctor, though.
Well, that's a debate for when we finish the Fourth Doctor, I guess. Like more than 6 months from now. Anyway.
No, it's less than 6 months from now.
It's about 6
April,
months.
so it's about 6 months, yeah. January, February, March, April. Yeah, it's about 6 months. So, they're down to about 7 minutes now, I guess. And the Doctor and Leela are inside the Doctor's brain.
Right, so far I just wanted to mention, it seems like it's been going in real time. You know, their 10 minutes that they have. I think it was 11, actually. Their 11 minutes that they have. Seems like it's been going in real time. That all falls to pieces here, though. I mean, not that not going in real time is a bad thing, but I don't know, I thought it would have been interesting.
Well, it cuts between the inside of the brain and the outside, which I guess is all supposed to take simultaneously, so I guess maybe it is technically in real time. They're just showing us two different perspectives.
Then it's not portrayed in real time.
They should have done a weird split screen thing.
Oh, God. That would have been worse. That would have just been terrible. Two conversations going on at once? Oh, my goodness. Well, the inside of the Doctor's brain looks kind of strange and stylized, obviously, because they're not just going to use gray matter as their backdrop.
It's all colorful and it's like, I don't actually know what it's like. Totally blanking.
Okay. It kind of looks like the inside of the machine in the Carnival of Monsters at some points. Just a bit more colorful and trippy.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that sounds good to me. So Leela gets attacked by the styrofoam balls.
Right. They almost look like recolored Rudens. Don't they?
Maybe. I just thought they needed a prop, so they went out to the dump and got all the styrofoam and just carved it into a sphere. Just threw it at Leela.
Hey, if they really did carve styrofoam into a sphere, that's pretty impressive. To get it that spherical?
I mean, that's what it looks like, so...
Well, yeah, it's true.
It's apparently the Doctor's antibodies, I guess, and they're rejecting Leela because the Doctor's the Doctor and Leela's not the Doctor.
I also wanted to make mention of that comment the Doctor makes about, well, the clone of Leela asks the clone of the Doctor why she's immune, and the Doctor's like, well, my brain is just superior to yours, or something like that.
Yeah, it turns out that's not true. Well, that's not necessarily the reason for the immunity, but whether or not that's true in a different sense is up to debate.
Hey, Leela was a better character than the Doctor in this serial, I would say.
Well, yeah, because the Doctor was passed out for most of the serial.
And he was kind of being a jerk, like Third Doctor tier jerk when he wasn't passed out. And Leela did more, obviously, because she wasn't passed out.
Didn't feel like the Doctor was being a jerk to me. I mean, it was a clone, first off. Second off, kind of up against the wall right now. Doctor's gonna die if he doesn't figure this out in 10 minutes. Not like they can just clone him again.
Well,
No, I mean the new clone wouldn't have all the knowledge of the old clones. The new clone would basically have to start from scratch.
Are you sure about
Yes.
that? The original clones seem to have all the knowledge that the original Doctor did.
Yeah, because that's how the process works. It gets the memories and knowledge of the being you clones somehow. I don't know how that works. Well, they eventually make it and they meet the nucleus, and it just looks like a shrimp.
It looks robed before it's blown up. Well,
Blown up.
In two actual senses of the phrase, but or in both senses of the phrase, but yeah, it's a crustacean.
The Doctor even says looks like a crustacean into episode 4.
Yeah, I think he says it looks like a shellfish, but yeah. It gives its little diatribe about survival of the fittest and how it has the right to take over anyone it can, which, I mean, I guess it does if it's powerful enough, smart enough, and capable of doing so. Like, yeah, no one can stop it, so there you go.
I mean, the Doctor even says, like, yeah, you do have a right to that, but I also have a right to stop you.
And it's like, it responds by saying, like, yeah, you do, but I'm not going to let you. Yeah.
And the Doc's like, everybody else in the universe has a right to live, and you know what? I'm going to give them that right.
By killing you.
But before he kills them, we should mention the whole subplot we forgot about episode 3 where Lo finally gets Marius to surrender.
Oh, right.
And zaps Marius, and Marius like, contact has been made. Meanwhile, Leela and Kanan are, I don't even know where.
They're still
hiding.
firefighting with the swarm.
Yeah. So they get Marius. One of the scientists escapes, but Dr. Parson gets killed. And Lo asks what happened, and Marius is like, oh yeah, we shrunk him down and injected them into the Doctor's brain. And Lo's like, shrink me down. Put me in there, I'm gonna stop them. So they're like, okay. So Marius shrinks Lo down, injects him into the Doctor's brain, but doesn't get very far, just gets killed by the Doctor's styrofoam ball antibodies. With assistance from Leela the Doctor.
Right, yeah. The clones run out of time in a slightly confusing scene because they kind of just dissolve in a flash of light.
Well, I thought that they had... What I interpreted had happened was Lo went in with his gun. The Lo clone went in with a gun that I guess was also a clone.
They cloned his gun, too.
They took the gun, and in the flash of light was them firing the gun at the nucleus to try to destroy it.
Maybe.
That's
honestly
what I
didn't
thought
know.
Happened.
Either way, what actually happens is that the clones run out of time and are dissolved into the Doctor's bloodstream, which he mentions in episode 4. Leela asks what happened to her clone, and he's like, well, I absorbed it into my bloodstream, which is essentially just the same as eating her, because, I mean, you know, when you eat, nutrients are dissolved into your bloodstream.
Thanks for that image.
But, right, the nucleus makes its way out through the tear duct, which is what the clones were planning to do, and is blown up, in the first sense of the word, to... Well, human size.
He's almost just destroyed by Lo, because Lo's like, quick, destroy them! And Marius was like, no, we must make them larger to interrogate them. And then they make it larger, and they're like, oh, it's the nucleus. It's not actually the Dr. Leela clones. So that could have gone very poorly for them right there.
Well, it kind of does, because the nucleus can't survive for very long in the macro world, I think it calls it.
I mean, when it's not in the hive, yeah. When they dump him in the hive, he gets super powerful. Destructive, I guess.
Well, he's having a little trouble breathing. He's voiced by the same guy who played K9. I think we actually mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, we did. But we didn't mention that he came back like a year ago to voice him in an audio drama.
Right.
Still getting in that sweet nucleus money.
Oh, God. The nucleus can't survive for very long. He's having a little trouble breathing. And they need to get to Titan, to the breeding ground that they've established there.
Right, so they leave, and they're gonna take the Doctor with, but since Leela's been hiding out with K9, she dresses up as one of the Doctors and sneaks up to the Doctor. The Doctor!
Yeah, for a second I was like, what? She dresses up like one of the Doctors? Like the third Doctor? No, she dresses up as one of the Doctors. on the base.
Leela's
In
actually...
a green jumpsuit.
Yeah, the green jumpsuit that I think Dr. Parsons was wearing.
No, Dr. Parsons was
Dr. Parsons was wearing a white lab coat.
Right, the other
doctor who escaped and then we never heard from again.
Right.
I was going to say, I think there's actually a novel where one of the Fourth Doctor's companions wears an outfit from the Third Doctor because they didn't have any clothes or something. But yeah, so she cuts the Doctor's straps and the Doctor escapes and like, quick, stop them. The nucleus is like, no, gotta get to Titan, gonna die.
So they leave, and episode 3
ended when the nucleus got blown up in the first.
Oh yeah,
sense.
okay, yeah. This
is all episode 4.
This is in episode 4. And
the Doctor investigates Leela to find out why she's immune, and he also investigates his own brain to find out what changed. And he realizes some sort of extra hook connected to his antibodies or something. He's like, that's the immunity factor. And Leela's like, what? And he's like, I got it when I absorbed you in my bloodstream.
Right, my brilliance astonishes even me.
No, he says that later when he enacts his plan that was just a ripoff of Leela's plan. And Leela's like,
right, yeah, that was the end. They need to use their newfound knowledge of disabling the swarm factor thing to cure Marius. So they do that.
Yeah, they just manufacture some antibodies and just inject them into Marius.
Hey, it makes more sense here than it did in Face of Evil.
I guess, but one wonders why they didn't just draw some blood from Leela and inject it into the Doctor and just call it a day. I mean, I guess maybe they're not the same blood type, but the Doctor's a Time Lord, so I feel like his blood types wouldn't even be on the same plane as human blood types.
Well, I don't know. But they cure
Marius,
and
they ask him to
guess?
mass produce the antibodies.
Yeah.
Which he does. Just mass produces pure antibodies.
But they need to get to Titan, which is what Leela has been trying to convince the Doctor of. She kind of just wants to get to Titan real quick, blow everything up, and leave.
Yeah, she just wants to bomb Titan. She's like, let's just bomb it, Doctor. And the Doctor's like, no, that'll kill everyone there. We have a chance to save them. We must go and save them. Which I can admire. But in the end, they honestly should have just gone with Leela's plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, the whole no one should die, we can save him with these antibodies. Like, that's a very doctorish thing to do. But in the end, it just
doesn't really work out for him.
Which I guess at some point it was going to have to not work out for him, so...
It's not worked out for him in the past.
Yeah. So, I mean, they take K9, they ask Marius for K9, Marius is like, oh yeah, K9 might be helpful, take him. And I thought, like, do you think they're gonna go back and, like, give K9 back or something, or are they just gonna steal K9?
They almost didn't. Well, we'll get there.
You mean the Doctor almost didn't. So they get there, and the nucleus is currently breeding in the hatchery, I guess.
Right.
The Dino hatchery.
No.
Jurassic Titan.
No. Oh, God. Dinosaurs on a spaceship.
Wasn't it us who said dinosaurs don't make good enemies? Then we watched Invasion of the Dinosaurs and was like, dinosaurs make okay enemies.
I don't know. Hey, the Silurians were better than the Invasion of the dinosaurs. And the Sea Devils were also better than them. But worse than the original Silurians. Yeah, I went there. And I also went there when we watched that episode.
Yeah, no one's come out and disagreed with us, so... So they arrive on Titan, and there's a guy guarding the door. And Leela's like, let me take care of him. And the Doctor's like, okay. So he opens the door and Leela's gun isn't affecting the guy. But then K9 jumps in and just guns him down in cold blood.
Master.
It's like some sort of creepy psychopath.
Hey, he doesn't have emotions, I think he mentioned.
It's like a Cyberman.
But he's loyal like a dog, so... There you go.
Who thought this was a good idea? Like, honestly.
Whoever controls K9 controls the world. No.
Basically.
Why doesn't Marius just mass produce K9 and take control of Earth?
Yeah, why doesn't he?
Probably because he's not a psychopath.
But the nucleus is, why didn't the nucleus realize the combat potential of K9?
Oh, God.
I feel like this is going to be a theme in one of his episodes, that he gets turned to the dark side. It has to be.
Well, it happens here for about 4 seconds.
Yeah, really underwhelming 4 seconds.
Anyway, Leela knifes someone in the neck.
She does that after they split up, because K9 mentions, like, oh yeah, the condition is advanced to the point where we can't save them with the antibodies, Doctor. And the Doctor's like, no!
So
It's not possible!
No. No.
So the Doctor goes with K9 and sends Leela to distract someone. So he sends them all on distracting runs to distract scientists, but I guess they all interpret this as distract the scientist and then kill him.
Well, hey, killing is the most perfect form of distraction because
they're not coming back?
Yeah.
They're not coming back from that. Oh gosh. Leela. We'll explain what Leela does in a second.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can just mention that it's kind of a return to form from how she was before, and not how she was last week.
Yeah. She also has that humorous line when well, I'll explain it when we get there, because it only makes sense in context. So the Doctor's going to go dump the antibodies into the nucleus and kill him. And Lo shows up, and the Doctor loses the antibodies, by which I mean he kind of just drops them, and then I guess he's never able to find them again.
I don't know, the final scenes of 4, well, with the nucleus, were also a little ambiguous. Sort of? So what's going on?
Yes, Bob Baker and David Martin wrote themselves into a bit of a corner when they wrote that the Doctor lost the antibodies, and they weren't sure what to do with that.
Oh, this is why Leela's plan would have worked in the first place. Because the Doctor gets to the hatchery, the nucleus is inside doing its nucleus things.
Well, we should mention that K9 distracts Lo, and then the Doctor shoves Lo into the nucleus, and he gets dissolved and dies.
Yeah, Lo dies.
I think everyone in episode 4 was killed by one of the 3... the trio, the TARDIS team.
And come to think of it, both incarnations of Lo have extremely gruesome deaths.
Yeah, both of them get dissolved into something else.
Yeah, Lo is also dissolved into the Doctor's bloodstream. Oh, God. It's like he ate Leela and Lo.
Why? 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 Oh, no. So the Doctor fiddles with the hatchery controls. I guess he uses Lo's gun to lock it shut.
I don't know. Again, this scene was a little ambiguous, possibly due to the seizure-inducing flashing light. No.
So Leela's like, well, the swarm is like, no, what are you doing? You can't just trap me in here. That won't hold me, but it does.
Well, the nucleus does return. In some capacity. I don't really know what capacity.
Might be a prequel.
Might be a completely
unrelated story. Might be a completely different strain of the nucleus. It is a virus.
Right.
So anyway, the Doctor runs up to Leela. Well, K9 runs out of power after distracting Lo, and then the Doctor just grabs his leash and drags him along. When he meets up with Leela, she's like, I've got the solution. Stab them in the neck. The Doctor's like, will you do that to 1,000? 100,000? And she's like, oh. And then
no, she's like, yes. No.
I would kill 1,000 of them.
What's that a reference to?
A reboot episode, I guess. Vaguely. Very obliquely. But anyway, the Doctor makes Leela go back to the TARDIS with K9 while he locks up the nucleus, and then he does that, and then he runs into the TARDIS and dematerializes without Leela and K9.
Getting his scarf stuck in the door, I might add. The Doctor, or no.
Smooth.
Leela yells at him to come back, and he does. He's like, oh, whoops.
Yeah, it's dematerializes, gets halfway there, and then all of a sudden starts rematerializing, and it opens, and Leela's like, why didn't you wait? And it looks like the Doctor was about to say something, but then it just hard cuts to the outside of the TARDIS dematerializing again.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Weird.
I guess he had a line of dialogue that they couldn't fit in because they were running out of time, which might also be why the final scene is super ambiguous. But they rematerialize on the research base, and Titan just kind of detonates.
Yeah.
The base blows up.
So there goes that.
So it was Leela's plan all along.
And she mentions this, and the doctor says, "Great plan of mine, wasn't it?" And Leela's like, "Wait a minute."
And he's like, "My brilliance astounds even me." I don't know. I interpreted it as him taking a fun jab at Leela.
Yeah, that wasn't, I don't think, very mean. That was sort of like funny.
I think he was just kind of poking fun at the fact that he ended up using Leela's plan in the end anyway.
Yeah.
Even though he didn't want to.
There was that underlying theme of, using your mind is better than using brute force. Which I guess is true. I don't know.
Worked out for them in this serial, except when K9 gunned people down.
Yeah, actually, brute force seemed to work pretty well in this serial.
Yeah, we forgot to mention the scene where the doctor asks K9 to stun Marius, and the K9's like, "Kill?" And the doctor's like, no. Just stun. Just knock him out.
Oh god, K9 is so willing to kill his master.
Maybe he doesn't like Marius. He does just kind of dart into the TARDIS later on. Marius is like, "So, Doctor, I was wondering if you could do me a favor." Doctor's like, "What is it?" And Marius is like, "Well, see, we can't really take K9 back to Earth." And Neela's like, "Oh, he can come with us." The Doctor's like, and K9 just zoots into the TARDIS, and the Doctor's like, and he just doesn't say anything for the rest of the serial.
And then the serial ends with Marius hoping that K9 is TARDIS trained. He's not. Spoiler. No, I don't know.
You don't even know.
So, yes, introduction of K9 as a companion. Probably going to be the best TARDIS crew in the entire history of the show, honestly. Well, I'm assuming. Because Leela is awesome.
Either that, or they'll just throw everything out the window next week and it'll just be terrible. I mean, because I know we both enjoy the two companion dynamic, but does K9 even count as a companion?
I don't know, and I don't care. He's a robotic dog with eye lasers.
Well, putting him on the kill count, right?
Yeah.
I guess that makes him a companion by our super arbitrary metric. He travels in the TARDIS, which I guess also makes him a companion. I think he sticks around for a while. He shows up once in the reboot too and has a super emotional scene.
Well, I'm counting. He's a companion, at least in my books.
He's a companion in our hearts.
Oh, God.
I think he sticks around for a while, so I think he's considered a companion. But I think it'll be interesting because K9 is the first non-humanoid companion we've gotten ever. And if you exclude Susan, he's the first non-human companion. Leela only counts as human because she's descended from human, which I guess is human.
Well, it's not like they became a different species or anything. I mean, maybe the Tesh did.
Could have evolved, Homo erectus to Homo sapiens.
I guess. But right, he's the first non-humanoid.
Yeah, he's not even a dog. He's a robotic dog.
He's a little. He looks like one of those droids that zooms around the Death Star. That I don't know the name of.
The mouse droid, is that what it's called?
I feel
like that's what it was called.
I don't know.
The Gonk droid was the best anyway. Right. I liked him in this serial. I'm interested to see how he's going to play out in the future and what they're going to use him for. Since Leela and the Doctor have been pretty good at getting everything done on their own, and adding K9 will be interesting because I guess he brings a different skill set to the TARDIS that we haven't had before.
A deadly skill set.
A psychopathic skill set.
I don't know. I'm pretty interested in seeing the relationship between Leela and K9 because, I don't know, she seemed to take a liking to K9. K9 seemed to take a liking to hers as far as it can take a liking to anyone.
Well, they went through a traumatic experience together. They had to hold out against the Swarm. They went through a miniature war together. A figurative war.
Yeah, I guess. We didn't mention, in case it wasn't blatantly obvious, but the second way in which the nucleus blows up is that it actually just blows up with Titan.
I'm glad you clarified that.
Anyway.
Yeah, I was curious to see if this is David Martin and Bob Baker's final seal, which is not. They've got like 3 more coming.
Nope.
So we'll see what they do. I think another one of those is this season, actually.
Yeah, Underworld.
Yeah, it comes up in a couple serials, I guess.
Yeah, well, where else did it come up?
It's not the finale. The finale is the Invasion of Time, which sounds awesome. I'm really impatient to get there.
It's not going to live up to the hype.
No, it's not.
Anyway,
Or it will.
Return to form for Leela this serial. I don't know if I mentioned in the beginning. I honestly don't remember, but Louise Jameson obviously isn't wearing her brown contacts anymore, and as a result, Leela looks absolutely terrifying. Her eyes look kind of soulless.
I do like the blue eyes better, though. I think they give her more character than the brown eyes. Because I'm pretty sure every other character ever has had brown eyes, unless it was really obvious that they didn't.
Well, I mean, like I mentioned last week and the week before that, everyone kind of looks like they had brown eyes from far enough away. And Louise Jameson did here, too, but there were some instances where you could clearly see... her eyes aren't like, dark blue or whatever. They're like that really rare
light
blue that looks kind of frightening.
Yeah. It's unique, though. I like it.
I mean, it's not like it ruins her character or anything. I just wanted to mention it.
Her entire character was based on her eye color. No, well, I mean, it's the first time we've actually seen her natural eye color. We supposedly saw it last week, but it was pitch black and you couldn't see anything, so I don't think that really counts. Plus, this serial was actually produced before last week's.
Yeah.
So, I guess the relationship between Tom Baker and Louise Jameson was still a bit rocky in this serial. Might have contributed to why we felt the Doctor was still being a bit of a jerk to Leela, but hopefully next week that won't be the case because of what we mentioned last week in Horror of Fang Rock.
Yep.
Other than that, I think that's all I have to say about this. Looking forward to seeing K9 in action, because let's be honest, he's pretty awesome. Do you remember we were researching like way back in the second Doctor's era and we stumbled upon that pilot episode for the K9 spin-off from this era?
Yeah.
Are we going to watch that at some point? I think we said we would, right?
Yeah. If there's only one spin-off we watch as part of this podcast, it probably should be that.
Why? Because there's K9, K9 and Sarah Jane Smith?
Yeah. That's exactly the reason.
How do they explain that away?
No idea.
Okay, then. Email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, fan fiction about K9. That
probably enough of that out there.
Probably. I was going to say might regret saying that later, but I guess we'll see. Check us out on YouTube at Trust Your Doctor. Check us out on iTunes at Trust Your Doctor, and leave a rating if you liked the show.
Check us out on Facebook, like us on Facebook at Trust Your Doctor, and check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast, and follow us on Twitter. And next week we watch Chris Boucher's final serial, Image of the Fendal. So looking pretty forward to that. But until then, the end.